Hello viewers, I'm Ron Grant and you're watching 284 Media out of Tortola in the Virgin Islands. The H. Stout Community College has once again been doing some amazing things, this time in the Department of Mathematics and Science. Now, of course, as you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, many of our students were forced to stay at home, and that affected many of them negatively. Now, the H. Stout Community College embarked on an amazing program where they kept students engaged. We are discussing how they do outreach as well as keep math and science alive across the Virgin Islands. We're joined by Mrs. Stephanie Ross Penn, the director of the Mathematics and Science Department, as well as Ms. Baskin and Mrs. Sheriff, who are going to be explaining to us exactly what took place during that period and what experiences they are able to share with us as it pertains to how our students are moving and learning through this new era. All this and so much more after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 Media.
Live stream cable TV is here with CCT Live. Access over 80 channels that you can watch either at home or when you're on the go. And don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Rewind and watch in your own time. Come to CCT today and ask about our 1-month free trial offer. CCT Live. Bring it home.
Viewers, welcome back. As promised, I am joined by Director of the Mathematics and Science Department at the H. Stout Community College, as well as two of our instructors, Ms. Baskin and Mrs. Wheatley Sheriff. Ladies, first of all, thank you for your time and welcome to 284 Media.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and so ladies, once again, I want to welcome you. Mrs. Penn, I want you to begin by telling me a little bit about the aim of the Mathematics and Science Department at the H. Stout Community College, because you guys have been doing some amazing work as it pertains to outreach and really keeping our students engaged, especially during this COVID era. Tell us about the program.
Certainly. Well, our department has many aims and objectives, but one of the key objectives that we have maintained over many years is that of having initiatives focused on outreach into the community. And we've had several different types of outreach initiatives that might include communicating with secondary and primary instructors. We've had opportunity to be able to provide expertise or personnel to activities, whether it be science fairs or whether it simply be providing chemicals or equipment to schools in need. But one of the most successful initiatives we've had has been that of school visits, where we will have largely primary schools come to our laboratory facilities, and we facilitate visits that might be based on a particular aim of the group or just for fun. And that has been happening for several years now and has been really successful in helping us to promote mathematics and science in the community. With the visits to the lab, while it's more science-based, the exposure to the sciences lend themselves really well so that these students can have a better idea of what the different sciences are, as well as what HLSCC has to offer and things that they could look forward to as they continue their academic journey.
So in your quest to build capacity as it pertains to these science programs, particularly for these students in the primary and secondary aspect, what is the overall observation? Are students engaged? Do they have an interest for science across the territory?
Well, I don't know that I can write out, say with certainty from a long-term perspective, but that's certainly the aim. When they come to the labs, they're very excited. They have a great time, and we've been doing surveys, getting feedback from the teachers that come with them, as well as from the students, to help us to be informed on whether these visits are being effective. And the feedback we have gotten over the years has been very positive and has helped us in a lot of ways to determine whether we will change what we're doing, whether we'll keep what we're doing. It helps us to know better what works better for these visits and what's more effective for them when they come. So, I mean, our hope is certainly that it's making the the students more excited about these areas, because that is part of the aim. And I think it will take a few more years for us to have a better sense of whether it's reaching in the long term, given that they're primary school students, and it's going to be about another 5 or 6 years before they actually hit HLSCC steps.
I understand. And now, the school visits are just one part of the outreach. What are some of the other outreach aspects that you have conducted so far?
Well, we have done a lot over the years with supporting different activities. For example, we would support the UNESCO Science Fair that would happen. It hasn't happened in a while, but HLSCC would take a really large role in helping with coordinating that event, helping to ensure that there are judges for that event, and also pulling teams of students together from HLSCC to come out and do fun activities with the students when they come to those science fair activities. We've also helped other schools run their own science fair, like we used to assist Francis Letson Primary School with theirs. We also find ourselves at a lot of other activities where we may be judges at other science activities. We, in the past, have had an annual science and mathematics fair in conjunction with the computer science fair at the college. And we're really hoping that that will come back on stream this year and going forward. And then outside of those kind of initiatives, a lot of the other aims have been to increase communication with other educators in the territory, being able to communicate with the science secondary educators, the primary educators, and get a better sense of what is happening in mathematics and science, and what can we do to help with continued growth of the territory in these areas, as collectively we have a conversation on what is working, what isn't working, what trends are we seeing happening, and how are we going to need to adjust as time progresses. And as the community college of the territory, we see that we play a really integral role in helping to define the direction of where we go next. And so with all the activities we do, that's also another holistic aim, is being able to guide the territory and help inform the necessary change so that our students are successful. And for us, especially in math and science, but of course, we want them to be successful across the board.
Wonderful. Now, Ms. Baskin and Mrs. Sheriff, of course, you guys were instrumental in really and truly preparing the videos, of course, to keep our students engaged during the COVID-19 era. Now, that era, of course, which we're still in, but we're somewhat adopting to the new normal, as they call it. What impact, I'll start with you, Mrs. Sheriff, what impact would you say the COVID-19 situation had on these students, and how did the videos assist them in their adjustment?
Hi Ron, thank you so much for having us. They are so used to their teachers scheduling visits to come to our labs to get a tour and a lesson on lab safety. So COVID has really impacted their ability to come to our campus so that we can deliver that lesson to us. Those videos now would allow them to get a similar experience, though not the same as physically being there, but they'd get that same lesson that they would have gotten if they came to campus.
Wonderful. And viewers, as you can see on the screen, those were some videos really outlining and step-by-step guiding the students. Ms. Baskin, tell us about this experience and the process in creating these videos.
Well, it was really a challenge. Thank you for inviting us and sharing the opportunity. So we had to set up the equipment and go through the motions of the lab that we were focusing on, and then have this video taken. And at the same time, we would give the student data so that they could view the lab without being on campus. And then they would go through and do the calculations as though they had actually done it. Now, at the end of the semester, we felt that they still needed to have some hands-on experience with the equipment. So it was then that we would set up a lab, a special lab, and separate the students and divide them up and move them in different rooms so that they could have a hands-on experience with the equipment before the end of the semester.
Wonderful. And Mrs. Sheriff, when we look at some of the titles for the video, you guys discussed safety in the lab, introduction to commonly used apparatus and glassware. Of course, you covered chemistry experiments on pH, and introduction to microscope. How important would you say these introductory videos and courses are for our students across the Virgin Islands?
Okay, so starting with lab safety, it is very important that our students know how to behave in a lab setting. We start off with how you should dress, starting with your shoes, and then we work our way up. Your shoes has to completely cover your foot. You can't be in the lab where accidents can happen and you are not protected. So lab safety covers a lot of that, including emergency protocols with fires or spills, what to do in that setting. The next video, we did introduction to commonly used apparatus, glassware. So we covered items like the beaker, a measuring cylinder, funnel, like usual stuff that you would find in a lab that you may have to use in an experiment. And we wanted them to know how to use them, even if they could not be there with us. The pH experiment, I thought that was really cool. Oftentimes when we have, especially the primary schools come to the lab, they want to see something fun, because
yes,
we want them to know that science is fun. So I put together the red cabbage pH experiment, and it was just a beautiful lab. I had fun putting that one together. The introduction to the microscope, now you'll find grades 5, 6, and even some of the high school grades putting those lessons together for their students as a part of the curriculum. And we are often requested to do a demonstration or introduce the students rather to the microscope, and we let them put specimen on the microscope, and they get to view it at the various objective lens. But most importantly, we teach the parts of the microscope and how to care for it, as well as how to use it once you have a slide on the microscope.
Wonderful. Well, ladies, I just want to commend you both on really taking the initiative and assisting and reaching out to our students through this amazing science program at the HLSCC Community College. Of course, Ms. Baskin, you are a retired laboratory manager, and Ms. Dawson, you are a laboratory technician presently still working within the field. I do think when it pertains to many of our key elements within education, it is quite important that we have persons from all different sides of the spectrum who are retired, who have the years of experience under their belt, and of course the younger generation. I do think that sometimes there's a disconnect, and within this particular program, I absolutely see how we're merging generations and we're bringing it together. So kudos to you both, and I thank you so much for the wonderful job that you've done, particularly in this COVID era, and enlightening and making sure that our students across the territory still get that interaction and still are learning through a very creative way.
Yes.
All right, Mrs. Penn, I must ask you, of course, these programs, these school visits had to take a hiatus because of COVID-19 and the ongoing pandemic. When do you foresee, is it possible that you foresee these school visits and outreach activities regaining and continuing in some form in the near future?
Absolutely. We are hopeful that maybe as early as fall 2022, we may be able to resume school visits. If it's potentially possible for even this semester, that would be great. One of the things that we have been really grateful for, though, is the opportunity to produce these videos so that their reach can be even beyond the norm in terms of they can reach throughout the territory, because it's not always easy for students to be able to come and visit. So now we have this added alternative to be able to still provide them the knowledge and the experience, the knowledge and the skills that are needed. And we really focused on videos that we knew would be beneficial to all levels, whether primary or secondary, because again, they were really linked to a lot of what persons wanted when they came to the labs, being able to reinforce their syllabi in terms of lab safety, introducing these students to the equipment, because a lot of times they only see them on paper and not in real life. And the microscope is another big one. And so we were able to produce those and really excited about their dissemination throughout the entire territory. A lot of them currently have been used more internally, as Mrs. Baskin was indicating, where we've been able to use them for our own classes that were online and be able to provide this information to the students from an online platform, given that they couldn't come into the campus. But the idea was to both be able to assist our students within and more so provide something that could assist the territory on a whole at all levels of education. And we absolutely look forward to the visits resuming, but we're happy that we can provide something that gives you a touch of HLSCC, whether you're able to come to the campus or not.
Wonderful. Now I must ask you, these videos were designed, of course, for the students, but are they available for viewing across the territory on any platforms? And if so, how can persons wishing to view the videos view them?
Well, that is our next step. So
Okay.
this right here is a great opportunity for us to allow persons to know that these videos have been created. The next step is to communicate further with the Ministry of Education. We have started the conversation in regards to what would be the best format through the ministry to have these videos disseminated. And that way they would reach all the schools. And then ultimately they'll be available to anyone, probably via some one of the HLSCC platforms, to be determined once it's really clear the best dissemination process. But the next step is that right there. Right now we're making the public very aware. And the hope is that they will get into the hands of every institution in our territory and be available to be used in whatever means the institution thinks is best.
Wonderful. Ladies, once again, I want to thank you for your time and the opportunity for you to continue to share and impact the lives of our youth in the territory and really introduce them to the world of science. Mrs. Ross Penn, Mrs. Baskin, and Mrs. Sheriff, I want to thank you so much for your time and continue the good work. Much success to yourself and your colleagues and the entire H. Lively South Community College team.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
You're
very
most welcome.
much.
Viewers, that is all the time we have, but that is not all the content. Be sure to, of course, stick to our website, 284media.com, as well as our page for more content. I'm Ron Grant. You're watching 284 Media.